Giannis Antetokounmpo is 31 years old, just played a career-low 36 games, and has exactly one guaranteed year left on his contract. He's chasing a second ring, and he just landed in Miami to get it. So the real question is brutal and simple. How many championship swings does Giannis actually have left? Let's model the window. Here's the plan. First, the clock, his age, his health, and his contract. Then how his specific game ages, because not all stars decline the same way. Then how many real title swings that leaves, against the timeline of a Miami team that has to contend now. The facts are verified, the aging projections are mine. Let's start with the clock. This is Game is Culture. Quick thing before we dig in, if you like player windows modeled with real data, subscribe. It's free and it helps a ton. Now, the clock. Start with the facts. Giannis is 31, and when healthy last season, he was still utterly dominant. Nearly 28 points, 10 boards, and 5 assists on 62% shooting. The production is still elite, but he played only 36 games, a career low after a knee injury. So we have a player at the peak of his powers with a brand new question mark next to his name, availability. That injury year matters more than the stat line suggests. A hyperextended knee and a career low in games at 31 is exactly the kind of warning sign you watch with an athleticism-based superstar. One lost season can be a fluke, but it can also be the first crack. The model has to treat his availability as a real variable now, not an afterthought. That's new for Giannis. Trace the arc. Giannis won it all in 2021, then watched the Bucks fade through repeated playoff exits and finally missed the postseason entirely. Now at 31, he resets the clock in Miami with one guaranteed year and a player option in 2027. This isn't the start of a window, it's the middle of one, and the back half is always shorter than it looks. How his game ages. Here's the key analytical point. Superstars age differently depending on what their game is built on. Skill-based stars, shooters, and passers tend to age gracefully into their mid-30s. Athleticism-based stars who live above the rim on speed and power often decline a touch earlier and faster. Giannis is the second kind. His game is force, and force fades sooner than touch. That said, Giannis has counters. He's added passing and postcraft. He's a brilliant defender whose IQ will age well, and his sheer size means even a slightly diminished version is enormous. Players this dominant rarely fall off a cliff, they step down gradually. So the model doesn't see a sudden collapse, it sees a high but slowly narrowing peak, with health as the wild card that could shorten it. So how many real championship swings does Giannis have left? My model says about 2 to 3 genuine ones, seasons where he's the best or second best player on a true contender. He's still elite now, likely elite next year, and probably very good for a couple beyond that. But the window where he can be the engine of a champion is real, and it is closing, faster than his highlight reel suggests. Quick halftime note, if you want every star's window modeled like this, stick around and subscribe while you're here, it's free. Now the Miami timeline. Now line his window up against Miami's. Giannis needs to win now, 2 to 3 swings left. Miami, coming off a play-in season, needs time to build the right roster around him. Those two clocks are in tension. The Heat can't afford a slow, multi-year build. They have to contend almost immediately, because the superstar they just traded for is already in the back half of his prime. And the East makes it harder. To cash one of those 2 or 3 swings, Miami has to climb past the defending champion Knicks, a 60-win Detroit team, and loaded Cleveland and Boston rosters. That's a brutal gauntlet for a team still figuring out its spacing. Giannis didn't just need a good team, he needed a ready one, and Miami isn't quite that yet. The clock and the competition are both unforgiving. So can Giannis win another ring at 31? The honest answer, yes, but it's far from likely, and the path is narrow. He needs to stay healthy, Miami needs to nail its shooting additions quickly, and they need a little luck against a stacked conference. It's a real shot, maybe a top 5 contender shot, not a coronation. The window is open, just not open wide and not for long. And that's what makes this trade so high stakes. Miami didn't acquire a young player to grow alongside, they rented the back half of a legend's prime, so every roster decision from here has to be made with a stopwatch running. Context on the injury though. Before last season, Giannis had been remarkably durable for a player who absorbs that much contact, routinely playing deep into the 70s in games. So one knee injury at 31 doesn't automatically signal decline. It could be a single unlucky year. The model has to hold both ideas at once. His track record says durable, but his age and his style say stay cautious. The honest truth is, we don't fully know yet. And his floor is absurdly high even as he ages. Because Giannis is 7 feet of force with elite touch at the rim, even a version that loses a half step is still a 20-point, double-digit rebound anchor and a plus defender. Stars built purely on speed fall off a cliff. Stars built on size and skill decline gently. Giannis is more the second type than people assume, which softens the worst case considerably. So the urgency cuts both ways. Miami can't slow play this. Every month they take to build is a month off the front of Giannis's window. The smart move is aggressive. Add shooting immediately. Lean on the elite defense to contend right now and treat each of these next 2 or 3 seasons like the title shot it is. A patient multi-year rebuild would waste the very prime they traded their whole future to get. Where could I be wrong? If last year's injury really was a fluke and Giannis plays 70 plus games, his window widens and Miami's ceiling jumps. Athletic decline timelines are averages and the greats often beat them. And if Miami retools aggressively around him, 2 or 3 swings could become 4. But betting on health and a fast build at 31 is exactly that, a bet. The window is real and it's the whole story. Everything Miami does over the next 2 summers should be judged against one question. Does it help cash a championship before that window quietly closes? So that's the verdict. Giannis has maybe 2 or 3 real swings at a second ring, a narrow window that Miami has to maximize immediately. Do you think he gets it done, or did the clock run out before the team was ready? Tell me below and tell me which trade to break down next. And we are so close to 1,000 subs, so subscribe to stay up to date.